Welcome to Soundcheck with Pastor Isaac. This is episode number 85, and today we're talking about making a difference. And so let somebody know that we're on today. We'd love for you to share this video with them. We'd love for you to just enjoy it as well. And so let's go ahead and get into the word today. We're talking about episode 85, make a difference. We know that there are a lot of people that have already made a difference in this world. A lot of people's names are listed throughout history that have done something very significant in their season, in their time, in their generation. Well, it's our turn because we're here on the planet right now. It's our turn to make a difference. And so when we're talking about making a difference, we're talking about you doing something that is powerful, something that is prolific, something that's going to make a difference in somebody else's life. I know that I've often looked at the people that are in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and I've seen what they've done and how they've changed the world. They've changed even their whole generation as they were going through. Now, I'm sure as they woke up those mornings, they didn't understand that they were going to be a difference maker in that whole situation. They had probably no idea that they were going to be changing the world just by the actions that they did. But God had each one of them in a particular place so that they could make a difference. Guess what? God has you in a particular place, in a particular time in this season so that you can make a difference for mankind, that you can make a difference in the world, that you can make your mark on this planet right now. There have been a lot of people, and we'll look at a few of them today. I'm not going to exhaust the list by any means, but we're just going to get started right away. Some of the people that we already know about are people like Esther, Queen Esther. She was minding her own business, just trying to be the queen once Vashti had messed up. And then she just decided that she was going to continue to serve the king. But Mordecai let her know that she needed to do something because the whole nation of Israel was in trouble. In fact, they were about to be wiped out. They were about to be annihilated because there was a letter that had been sent out by Haman that was going to destroy every last Jew. Now, this was something that she was probably not even aware of until her cousin Mordecai said, hey, I need you to take a look at this. And you need to understand that you too, being a Jew, are wrapped up in this whole thing. And so it wasn't just the Jews that were going to be destroyed. It was also going to be the queen. And so we know the end of that story. And we know that God turned that whole thing around for the queen, not only for her, but for the rest of the nation of Israel. They were able to be saved, and Haman was hanged on his own noose that he was trying to hang Mordecai on. He got hung himself. And so that one thing that she was able to do by saying, I'm going to pray and I'm going to ask my servants that are around me to also pray. Remember, she had handmaids that were waiting on her. They all went before the Lord and they were praying. And God showed her that she needed to go before the king and talk to him. Those things were worked out. But she decided to do that. And it was on her to say, if I perish, I perish. But guess what? She went to see the king and she didn't perish. And because she had that boldness to do it, her name's written in history forever because she was able to make a difference. And that's what we want you to do today. We want each one of us to make a difference. Look at David. Even a young man who was watching the sheep, he was able to make a difference. Even before he was king, even before he was able to be the king over the whole nation of Israel, he was able to kill Goliath. Now remember, the whole nation of Israel was fighting against the Philistines. And the Philistines were having their champion Goliath to come up against Israel and to cause them to be afraid. And they did not want to fight. And they were afraid of this giant named Goliath. But don't you know that David had a boldness on the inside of him? Of course, he remembered that God had already kept him because he was able to kill the lion. He was able to kill the bear, those things that were trying to attack the sheep that he was watching over. Remember, he was just a shepherd boy. And because he was able to worship God on his instrument as he was out there tending to the sheep, he was able to minister before the Lord, and the Lord gave him the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of how to kill that bear, of how to kill that lion, and how to kill that giant called Goliath. Now, what giant is in your life? What giant do you need to kill today? Because that giant is trying to attack you. Is it a giant? Is it a giant of finance? Is it a giant of sickness and disease? No matter what it is, that thing can be slain because God is in you, just like he was in David. And so we need you to know that David was able to kill that giant, and therefore the whole Israel again was saved. One man killed that giant. At the time, he was a child. Actually, he was about a teenager. And so we need to know that it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how young you are. You can do anything as God gives you the strength to be able to do that. Yes, you can make a difference at any age if you're willing to let God use you. And so that's what David was able to do. Let's look at somebody else. Look at Sarah, the mother of nations. That's what the Bible calls her. Sarah is the mother of nations because just like Abraham was the father of faith and the father of many nations, he had to have someone that was going to be the mother of nations just like he was the father. And so Sarah was able to do that. Even when the angel came to her and said, you're going to have a child, and she laughed, she was able to still find favor in God's eyes because she was able to be called the mother of nations. Now we also coming through faithful Abraham, we have her as our mother because she is the one that is also what we said, the mother of nations. Let's look at the New Testament. You also have Paul, a man that was somebody that was always trying to do the right thing before God, thinking that he was doing the right thing when he was killing Christians and causing them to be put in jail. Then he realized, wait, I'm doing the wrong thing, because when he was on that way to Damascus, God was able to show him himself through his son Jesus. He was able to get Paul knocked down off of that animal and to be able to see that Jesus, you are the one that is my God. Jesus, I've been doing all these things against you. And so he was able to repent, get his life changed, and he was on fire for God from that moment on. He was on fire before, but now he was on the right side of God. Instead of doing it his way, he was doing it God's way. And so we know that Paul made a difference. Paul wrote most of the New Testament. If you want to look at it like that, he wrote about 2/3 of what we read in the New Testament. And so one man again made a difference. He's making a difference in our lives right now. We are making a difference if we continue to just know that God can use each one of us as well. We also know that Jesus made a difference. Look at the things that Jesus did. He healed the sick. He raised the dead. And he's continuing to do all of those things now. He's raising the dead, those that don't know Christ. He's causing us to come from death unto life, being born again. That's a whole nother thing to talk about right there. But Jesus is continuing the ministry that he set forth on this earth by going to the Father and pulling us out of darkness into his marvelous light. And so we know that Jesus did his thing because he was able to do it. We are able to follow him and to do the things that he wants us to do as well. Let's talk about somebody else that we may not have even considered. You. We're talking about you today. What are the things that you've done? What are the things that God has given you to do on this earth? What are the things that God has placed in you? How are you wired? What types of gifts has he given you? What are your desires? What are the things that you have a passion about? Those are probably the things that God is funneling you into an area that you can make the difference. God was able to make a difference as he used Esther because of her beauty. She was able to be put into a place of leadership. She was able to be the queen right next to the king. And because she had that influence right there beside the king, she was able to save the nation. What types of things has God given to you? Don't think of them as trivial things. God has placed every one of those giftings in you because he needs you to use those things. Now, it may not be beauty. It may not be the mathematician of the world. It may not be that you're a rocket scientist, but what is it that he's put in you and placed in you? What are the giftings that you have? Are you an avid reader? Do you love to study? Do you like to cut grass? What is it that you do? Whatever it is that you do, no matter how big or small you may think it is, that may be the very thing that God can use to bring people to the kingdom of God. So don't count yourself out. Look at some of the things that have been the top 5 contributors of humanity from the beginning of time. Since things have been changing, we know that the wheel was created. Thank God for somebody that did that. How about the elevator? The elevator is one of those things that has been invented that saves us so much time and so much effort to be able to use the elevator. How about the printing press back in 1450? That was made, and because that was created, we're able to put the gospel all over the planet. We're able to put all types of reading materials everywhere. That same way of typing and that same way of putting type together, we use the same thing now on computers. We still use our typewriters. We still use our keyboards, we should say, to be able to type these things out so somebody can read it. And whatever your language is, it's able to be set in type and put online so we can read it. And speaking of computers, that's one of those things that has changed the world because it's been invented. We have so much more technology now that's possible because of the computer. Look at the vaccines that have been placed in the world. And we're not just talking about COVID vaccines. We're talking about all the other vaccines that have been created. And scientists have created that thing so that we can be able to use those for the glory of God, because now we can be healthy and we can travel all over the world and talk about the things that God wants us to do, because we're still living. We're still alive because the vaccines have been able to keep us. Again, we're not talking about COVID. We're talking about all the other diseases that have been cured because of these vaccines. Look at the telephone back in 1876. That was invented. That's another thing that the earth has had that somebody invented. Also, the electric light in 1879. These are the things that we're not even thinking about today because we just take them for granted that we always have had them and we always will have them. But somebody came up with it. Somebody made a difference. Look at the automobile in 1885. Somebody put that together. Now, we could place the names of all these things, but we're not specifically talking about the people that did it. We're talking about you. What can you do? What can have your name on it? What can have your label on it? What can have the thing that God has placed in you so that somebody else can benefit from it? Now, the things that God has placed in you, those giftings are great, but they're not just for you to hold on to for yourself. They are for somebody else. Tell somebody that. They are for somebody else. And as we give these things out, those are the things that are going to benefit humanity. Those are the things that are going to benefit somebody else. Those are the things that are going to benefit this world. And so we need to make sure that as we give these giftings out, we let them know that it's Jesus Christ that has placed this thing inside of me. I'm excited about it, and I'm able to give it because God had planted in me first. And so I planted in you. I give it to you. And so that's what we need to say to people as we explain the giftings that God has placed on the inside of us. Now, we've said, who cured these diseases? Jesus was able to cure these diseases. Who invented the airplane? Who made the #1 hit? Who did all of these great things? But who can do it except you? You can only do what God has made you for. Only you can do what God has created you for. So don't miss that opportunity. Don't miss that opportunity to do that great thing that God has placed you on the planet to do. We know that Jesus did it. Jesus was the healer. He was able to do everything that he was able to do because God is in him. Now, we know that Jesus is continuing to do the same thing today. Jesus is continuing to do his part. He's continuing to heal the brokenhearted. He's continuing to heal those that are broken. He's continuing to heal the broken hearts, the broken minds, the broken bodies. He's healing us from the inside out. He's also healing our soul and our spirit. Jesus is doing his part, making a difference. So what are we doing to make a difference from the things that God has us to do? That's what we're doing today, episode 85, making a difference. And so I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope it prompts some things in you to say, I got to get busy. There's things I got to do. I know what direction the Lord wants me to move in. That's what I'm excited about because this is your time. This is your season. I hope this has helped you. Hope to see you again next week. God bless you. Sharing a video that you really want to have other friends look at is very easy. First of all, you just go in and pick the particular video that you want to look at, and then look for that share button. The share button is going to look like this. Click that button, and once you click that button, another menu is going to open up. That menu is going to have something called copy link. You want to click that so that you can go back up to the place where you normally post, which says, what's on your mind? Click into that. And once you get in there, then you can do some hotkeys. If you already know how to paste, you can do it like that. But if you don't know how to paste, you can put Control V. And Control V will paste it onto your page. And then at the very bottom where it says post, just click the post button. There's a little blue button at the bottom. And that way you can send it to all your friends or just a select group of people that you want to send it to. Sharing is that easy. We'd love for you to do that so that you can help spread the gospel. God bless you.